Thank you, Donna. Thank you all for joining us here at the Neil Armstrong Hall of Engineering, named after not only the first person who took the small steps, but also a Boilermaker who studied here under Navy scholarship. On behalf of President Mitch Daniels and the university, we would like to extend the warmest welcome to the DoD delegation led by the Deputy Secretary. Thank you very much. Over the past few years, Purdue University and the Board of Trustees have been investing, and in the future years will continue to invest in national security technologies. We have the world-class researchers in energetics and in cybersecurity. We have amplified our long-standing strength in semiconductors through the nation's first large-scale semiconductor degrees program and the SCALE program for DoD workforce development, through the SkyWater advanced fabrication facility on campus, and through our partnership with NSWC Crane. We have accelerated our expertise in hypersonic research and testing through our own facilities, through Rolls-Royce investment and expansion on campus, and through our outstanding partnership in HGTC, Hypersonic Ground Test Center, a new nonprofit consortium defined by industry membership and hosted right here. And indeed, here at Purdue, we take a great pride as part of our public land-grant mission to contribute maximally to an ever stronger America, especially in light of the threats from adversarial countries. A few years ago, I had the honor to serve in the United States State Department, working with many like-minded nations on tech diplomacy, advancing technology for freedom. In every national security interagency meeting, I always greet our Pentagon colleagues by thanking them for their service, thanks to which we have the luxury to live in peace, prosperity, and freedom here at home. And it is in the spirit of that sincere gratitude that I have the honor to introduce today's distinguished speaker. The Honorable Dr. Kathleen Hicks is the 35th Deputy Secretary of Defense. Prior to that, Dr. Hicks held the position of Senior Vice President, Henry Kissinger Chair, and Director of International Security Program at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. From 2009 to 2013, she served as a senior civilian official in the Department of Defense, confirmed by the Senate in 2012 as Principal Deputy Undersecretary of Defense for Policy. She was responsible for advising the Secretary of Defense on global and regional defense policy and strategy. She also served as the Deputy Undersecretary of Defense for Strategy, Plans, and Forces, leading the development of the 2012 Defense Strategic Guidance and the 2010 Defense Review, crafting the guidance for future force capabilities, overseas military posture, and contingency and theater campaign plans. Please join me with the warmest welcome. Deputy Secretary, welcome to Purdue.
Well, thank you to Dr. Chang for that kind introduction, and congratulations on being named the next president of Purdue University. So as I heard very clearly today, under your leadership, Purdue's College of Engineering really has thrived. And I'm sure this community is really excited to see you take the next step into the position of university president. And thank you also for your dedication to public service, both as just mentioned here, your former role as Science and Technology Advisor to the U.S. Secretary of State, but also as Technology and Innovation Advisor, as I understand it, to the state of Indiana. I have no doubt that you will continue Purdue's outstanding legacy of supporting U.S. national security through science and technology. I also want to thank those of you joining who are serving in one of the ROTC programs here in West Lafayette, and I had an opportunity to meet with you a little earlier today. I know being a student is very challenging, but it's a serious commitment to add service on top of that, so I really commend you on your dedication to the defense of our nation. And of course, defense of our nation is job number one at the Department of Defense. We are focused on national security challenges confronting the United States and our friends and allies abroad. Sometimes those threats emanate from other nations and transnational actors, but they also come in the form of pandemics like COVID-19 and climate change. Meeting those challenges requires DoD, the federal government, and really our entire country to continually innovate, modernize, and push the boundaries of science and technology. Our ability to do so is one of America's greatest strengths, and for the past 2 days, I've had the opportunity to see that innovation firsthand. Just yesterday, I was in Tennessee at the Oak Ridge National Laboratory, where material scientists and machine tool researchers and engineers are developing advanced manufacturing techniques that go beyond traditional casting and forging, pushing the envelope of how we make critical components like Navy ship propellers, the wing spars of aircraft, artillery gun barrels, and advanced aerospace systems. Beyond the Department of Defense, science and technology research and innovation is good for the United States, good for the American people, and good for the entire world. It's an engine of growth that turns small steps into giant leaps, driving economies, improving lives, and helping us tackle some of the biggest collective challenges that we face today. That's why visiting places like Purdue University is so inspiring. Neil Armstrong, whose statue is just outside of here, was known to say that Purdue taught him about problem solving, critical thinking, analyzing situations, and coming to conclusions that were in detail and original. This very building is a testament to that Boilermaker spirit, full of examples from the Hoover Dam to the Golden Gate Bridge, reminding us what science and engineering make possible, every one of them a product of Purdue alumni. That creativity and ingenuity is alive on this campus today. That's why earlier this year, the Air Force Research Laboratory picked Purdue as the headquarters for a new network of regional research hubs. Their goal, to create a collaborative science and technology ecosystem, bringing together government, academia, and the private sector that will accelerate the collision of ideas and talent to produce solutions for both DoD and commercial use. As an example, today I had the opportunity to tour Purdue's Zucro Lab and Hypersonics and Applied Research Facility. The research here will not only help develop the capabilities we need to defend the nation, but it will drive progress beyond DoD for the aerospace sector and other industries, shaping the next generation of commercial air travel, space exploration, and beyond. I also visited the Burke Nanotechnology Center, a facility focused on, among other disciplines, the development of microelectronics and semiconductors. There is no understating how critical that work is. Just last week, President Biden signed the CHIPS and Science Act, a new bipartisan law that will supercharge America's semiconductor research development and, most importantly, production, creating jobs and driving innovation across the country so that America can win the competition for the 21st century. And we are grateful to Indiana Senator Todd Young for his leadership in Congress to get this law passed. This new law will help ensure that America has and makes the technology that powers everything from F-35 stealth fighter aircraft to the smartphones in our pockets. And it'll be happening right here in West Lafayette, where Skywater Technology plans to open a new manufacturing facility to fabricate state-of-the-art computer chips in Purdue's Discovery Park. Earlier, I quoted a Purdue alum who was the first person on the moon, so let me close with a few words from another Purdue alum who happens to be, so far, the last person on the moon, Gene Cernan. In December 1972, as he took his last steps on the lunar surface, He talked about how America's challenge of today has forged humanity's destiny of tomorrow. Those words are as true today as they were 50 years ago. And whether you're here as a student or a staff member, a researcher, or even the faculty among us, I encourage you to keep them at the forefront of your minds, especially when the days are long, the work is hard, and the problems in front of you, the challenges of today, feel especially tricky to solve. Remember that you are contributing to something greater. You are helping to forge humanity's promise of tomorrow. We need you to keep going and to keep pushing the boundaries of innovation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hicks, for those inspiring words. If it's okay with you, we'll dive into some questions and answers that we've really liked to explore with you from the Purdue community, and looking at directions where we can go to help national security and defense. Maybe we can start with one of the most critical aspects of the work that's done here, which is innovation. Innovation is central to everything that we do at Purdue University, from the classroom to the lab to the boardroom. And as you survey the United States military and the equipment and the people that make up its core, where do you see a need for more innovation? What areas should universities like Purdue focus on?
Well, again, thank you for hosting me. And I think the first thing I have to say is Purdue is focused right now on several of our highest priority areas, and we've talked about them already today. We've talked about hypersonics, we've talked about microelectronics. We have a lot of interest in ensuring we have strong supply chains, so thinking through all the aspects of that. Those are all areas of priority for us. And we have identified a list of 13, inclusive of some of what I've just mentioned, 13 technology areas of greatest importance to the department. But beyond just the specific technologies, it's really about creating the kind of ecosystem that you've done so well here, and that I've seen in the last 2 days, both at Oak Ridge and at Air Force Research Lab, where we're really in the United States tapping into what makes us distinct, and that is bringing together innovators in the commercial sector alongside world-class research capabilities, investing as you are doing here in the facilities that make that possible and that attract talent, and then bringing government dollars, research and development dollars, and talent, as you're seeing around this room with your ROTC and your graduate student population from the U.S. military together. That's what you can keep doing, so I appreciate it.
Excellent, thank you. You mentioned the CHIPS Plus Act, and I think we're all very excited that it was signed last week by President Biden. And again, a lot of credit goes to Indiana Senator Todd Young for leading in on this legislation. In recent remarks in support of the CHIPS Plus Act, you identified some pressing microelectronics challenges facing our military. Right? First, making sure that we have assured access, and making sure that we can provide state-of-the-art technology to our warfighters. Purdue recently announced collaborations and partnerships to advance semiconductor technology and fabrication, including, as you mentioned, the recently announced partnership with Skywater Technology to build a $1.8 billion state-of-the-art semiconductor manufacturing facility right here next to Purdue campus. We're very excited about that. But what else can universities like Purdue do to help achieve a distinct microelectronics advantage?
So I'd go back to that idea of the ecosystem, and I think it's, again, you all have really, you're an exemplar, so I'm telling you something you already know. What we need here is that lab to fab capability, and so that means having the whole development cycle, right here, accessible to a community, so that that development
cycle from the innovator on the outside, the basic research to the innovator on the outside connecting, and then the fabrication capability for microelectronics here onshored, which we do not have today. That's really vital to us. In the Defense Department, the big constraints that we have faced that we believe the CHIPS and Science Act is going to very much help us get out of is both that we can't be 100% confident in our supply chain today, and so having onshored production capability or the whole life cycle capability, frankly, here in the United States can really help us. Understanding that we will still always lean on some chips that are made overseas. And then really to get at those very specific capabilities that we need. And that's another thing I would point to here at Purdue. Radiation hardened capability is already a research priority here. And that is a capability that pretty uniquely the Department of Defense and a few other agencies need in order to succeed. So those are the areas, keep going after those kinds of capabilities that we are specifically reliant upon, and really help us in the national security community and throughout the U.S. economy by putting that whole development cycle here together to get the most innovation as quickly as possible.
Yeah, okay, fantastic. Let's take a moment to talk about technology transfer. What can universities do to aid in tech transition, specifically to small businesses?
Yeah. So part of it is talent, right? Part of it is you are training folks here that will go on to be, that's our whole American model, will go on to be those small business owners and operators and innovators. Our innovation system in the United States is heavily reliant on small businesses. That's where a lot of that innovation is occurring. So training whether they're STEM talent today or they're business majors today, the reality is they're going to be the innovators of today and tomorrow. So that training makes a difference. And so that also means training in certain skills. Pardon me, entrepreneurship training, making sure they have the resources available to them through the university system, to lean on, the networks to lean on. I'm sure you have a very strong Purdue alumni network that works in this space. So those are some of the areas I'd point to, both having the talent and then supporting that talent really through the entrepreneur cycle.
Yeah, and absolutely, the talent pipeline is so important to push forward. And along those lines, we really appreciate a lot of the global diversity that we have within our student body, and specifically our graduate student body. But we recognize and appreciate the need to develop cleared and clearable, security-cleared students to be able to work on some of these national defense issues. We are attempting to increase this population, right, by leading initiatives such as SCALE, which is the national's preeminent training program for semiconductor workforce development in the defense sector specifically, as well as the Purdue Military Research Institute, which provides master's and PhD students for active military students. What else can Purdue do to help the department with the workforce shortage moving forward?
Yeah, and I had the great fortune to have some discussions already today about SCALE and some of the other programs that are ongoing here. Again, I think it's all going in the right direction and an incredible investment, clearly by the institution. I think for the United States to be competitive and really tap into all it can bring, which I think is a winning formula here in the United States, it needs to tap into all of its society. And so I think Purdue can be a significant engine of that, and has a responsibility to be an engine to bring all parts of our community, the diversity of what we have, underserved communities who have not traditionally matriculated into STEM areas at the same level, bring all of that talent to bear. We're unstoppable if we can bring all that talent forward. And we just need to lean on institutions like Purdue to help us do that. We're trying to do it in the Defense Department. We certainly are providing, again, dollars and jobs for folks, so we can be part of that answer. We want to partner with Purdue and other institutions to do that.
Okay, fantastic. Thinking along the lines of global competitiveness, you know, many of our near-peer global competitors benefit from vertical integration that's inherent to their defense ecosystem, right? Something that in many ways is the antithesis of the democratic capitalist society that that we're so proud to partake in. Recently, we've seen the department address this by encouraging more public-private partnerships and looking at non-traditional organizational relationships. What role do you see universities playing in this new model?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of the themes that we've touched on. First of all, there's a lot of vertical integration already going on. So lab to fab, I mentioned, is an example of that when it comes to microelectronics. And then more broadly, you know, I think the idea of using something like our manufacturing institutes that we have at DoD, where we are really, again, trying to bring in everything from the small entrepreneurs, working with Purdue in this case, trying to help them understand how to fit into the system and build through the system, the development cycle, those are other examples. So again, I think you're largely already down the right path, and I think in the US, what we have the advantage of is we are not a state-controlled economy. That innovation really helps us, but finding ways to bring that vertical integration to close those development cycles and make them shorter, and also make sure we're giving folks the support they need to contribute at the right points in the system. That's really important for us to do.
Yeah. Excellent. So one last question before I know you have to go and have a very busy schedule. We're very thankful for having you join us. So Purdue is, and collaborating academic institutions really offer unique capabilities, intellectual capital, and facilities in the area of hypersonics, as you mentioned. And we have a deep relationship with industrial and Department of Defense partners, AFOSR, the Naval Surface Warfare Center, Crane Division, and others in this area. What more can we as a university do to assist the department specifically in the area of hypersonics? So not only in research and development, in workforce development, but potentially in testing and in evaluation.
Well, we talked about the new wind tunnel testing facility you all are building here. That's tremendous. So I'm really looking forward as that is completed out to see what that can deliver. Just having that quality of facility attracts the world-class talent to advance the research. So I think that's one very clear area. One area we're also very focused on at the Defense Department is counter hypersonics. So to the extent that that's a research priority here at Purdue, and you can bring your scientists and engineers to bear on that, we certainly would welcome more collaboration in that area. But by and large, we're down a very strong pathway right now on hypersonics, and I think the quality of what you all are bringing is a big piece of why.
Thank you so much for joining us today and for these very inspiring words and food for thought on how we can grow as the university. Let's thank Dr. Hicks one more time. Thank you. Thanks very much. Much appreciated for your time today. Thank you so much.
Nice to meet you.
I think we're going to walk down